Yes, we are on. My name is Ivalo Arnfjord. I'm from Greenland. I live in the capital of Greenland, Nuuk, and from our little Greenland, from our little island, but it's the biggest island in the world. We have this 3PGL Inuit where we share about the three principles. This time we're gonna talk about spirituality because I think it's a very important subject, and it's something that I don't really talk about publicly, but my heart yearns for talking about it because it's so beautiful. Today we're going to talk with Harry Derbitsky. He is in Canada, and we're going to just have some very nice conversation about spirituality. So welcome, Harry.
Thank you very much. A treat to be here and to discuss spirituality and mystical spirituality together from what we've experienced. Really looking forward to where we go with this.
I was introduced to this understanding 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago. I was reading an audio. I was listening to an audiobook written by Mette Louise Holland, and it's back then that I realized that our true nature, how the mind works, and from that day I had several insights, and I haven't met Harry. I haven't heard anything. I didn't know Harry, who he was, but I didn't know you. So, but how I began to know you is that Mette Louise sent you some text about how I had insight, and then we had some webinars together, and what our common ground might be: the Indigenous world, spirituality, and collective groups or collective societies, and also culture. So because here in Greenland we are not that many. We are about 57,000 people, and here in this capital city there are only about 20,000 people, and somehow it has been successful talking about this understanding about inside out understanding to Greenland, to the Greenlanders. Somehow they have this receptivity, or somehow they get it very quickly what we are talking about. So and that is very interesting because I don't know why, but it happens. People easily understands what we are talking about about this about how the mind works. So for me it was a spontaneous, and I didn't do anything to have insight. My big first insight was that I unconsciously and also innocently had misunderstanding how life works, and I saw that I've been giving myself this I don't know how, this illusion of being separate from life. Even though I was trying to have a fantastic life, I did everything what the self-help universe was telling me to do to create a happy life. I was doing visualization, I was doing affirmations, I was meditating, I was doing healing sounds, I did Reiki healing, everything that is close to me that might be helpful for me to have a happy life. So when I had my first insight, it was clear that all those things that I've built up was limiting me instead of giving me freedom. When I saw that I didn't need those, all I needed was this understanding to life itself. All I needed was this peace, this peace of mind, and I didn't have to do anything to be happy. When I had that insight, I was like everything stood still, and I was just like in the air, and I didn't have to do anything at all. All I have to do was being connected to life and experiencing that I'm energy, that I am part of everything. That I didn't need to control, I didn't need to fight, I didn't need to work hard to be happy or to be peaceful. So it was so incredible, but also my intellectual couldn't get that, because all of a sudden everything stopped, and I didn't have to work hard, and it was so surprising that everything what I've been working for was not outside of me, but it's inside of me, inside of my soul. And what I really loved about this was what I need is inside of me, and I've been doing so much work and have exhausted myself, um, and I never needed that anyway, even though I thought that I needed that. Um, and after that, my first insight, it occurred to me what the separate realities was, that my husband or my children or my friends or family cannot, they cannot affect me directly. It's created in all my, everything is created in my thoughts. It's how I think about the situations. It's how I think about the people. It's how I think about the past. It's how I think about the future, or anything that is giving me this experience. So everything's turned inside out. Everything was changed suddenly, and I was observing this change that happened so automatically and naturally. Um, and then later on, I also had insights where I saw this giant light, or this sun, um, while I was being in this silence. It was the most beautiful silence I've ever experienced. It was so deep, it was so beautiful, that the silence became very, very loud. It's like a vacuum, or I don't know. I was in this space where there was nothing. There were nothing else but this silence. And I knew I was there. And then I saw this light, a circle, and I was observing that, and it it was I couldn't understand what that was. Was it a sun? Was it a waterfall? Was it a source? Was it? I couldn't put the name of what I saw. But then I realized I am here, but I am there at the same time. And I thought it's home. It's my home. It's home. It's and we are connected somehow. Whatever I thought about that, it transformed into what I thought. So it was this intelligence that I am a part of, but it also can transform into what I'm wanted to see. So it came clear to me that this feeling, that space is inside of me. And all my life, most of my life, I've been searching for feeling home. I've been searching to be at home. I have been so lost. I have been completely lost. I have been a completely mess. Even though I have felt mostly happy in my life, but I have had this feeling of urge to being safe and resting in myself. And with that insight, I got that. I found it. I found this home. So suddenly I was home in my own body or in my own soul. And this feeling of being home was not something that I had to create or had to accomplish or had to experience after I die. So suddenly I had this home inside of me. And it has always been there, and I only have been lost in my own mind, trying to find the solutions at somebody else's expertise or in other countries. But this feeling of being home has always been inside of me, and I was like, why didn't anybody tell me that it was right here? The psychologist who has helped me so much in many years, we never talked about it. And all the spirituality books, they never talk about that everything that you need is inside of you. Even though that I might understand it intellectually, but it never occurred to me that right in the bottom of my heart was my home. and then I realized, oh, that's what they meant when they say heaven on earth. My heaven on earth is here, not when I die. I don't have to experience this heaven in the future, but it's always been here. So even though it's surrealistic experience, I knew that it was the truth. It was everything what I've been missing. I saw that in my insights. So it's still, even today, it's so sometimes so hard to understand, so hard to grasp what that really means. But I know that it really happened, and I I found myself, or I I don't know how to explain it, but this feel coming home, being at home, um, it's not something that I feel every day after that first insight, but it's, I know in my background, I know consciously that I am there, even though I can feel that I'm not there. But I know that it's something that will last forever, or I don't know, that I will have that feeling, this fundamental, deep feeling of connectedness. Um, so after that insight, it's going back to life, to everyday life. Um, it's very different having had my one of those insights, seeing life differently, and seeing people that also innocently have lost that home feeling that they're searching for outside of themselves, even though that they have that inside of themselves. So this spirituality and this mystical experience can be so difficult to explain to everybody, to or anybody, because it's something that they're gonna experience for themselves and in their own way, not the same way as I experience it. But that's why I also love talking about spirituality. Uh, what is that, and why has it been such a taboo and something people see as something irrelevant? And but it's not irrelevant, and it's not nonsense.
Oh, it's a fact.
It
It's a,
is a fact, yeah.
it's a fact. For you, it's a fact because it's a direct experience with the power of mind, power of God, power of whatever. Again, mind defined as a psychological word for God. And so when what I see when Ivalo experienced what she's talking about, it ceased to be a concept or a belief or something she had read about that's happened to somebody else, kind of like Sid's experience. You can read about it, but we still don't know what enlightenment is. So she experienced something deep within herself that became a fact, but it's a formless fact, not a logical fact. It's an empirical type of fact where she has had a direct experience, and then that guides her for the rest of her life into what she defines going home, or going inside and experiencing I am, the I amness that is the truth of who we are. And that is very, very powerful, because no matter how lost she can get in her little mind, the fact will always guide her home. You can't deny it. It just is. And I also had a very similar experience like that. And I did get into a lot of trouble mentally and so on. But there was something that guided me through all of that. And it was that type of experience that Ivalo is describing that is the healing power, really just who we are. That's really, it's so simple, so ordinary. Ivalo is just Ivalo, who happens to have spiritual essence and wisdom inside. No big deal. Everybody has it. But she had a direct experience that lifted her level of consciousness out of the same for Sid. He was, and someone said, there's no such thing as insecurity. And he says, oh my God, it's just a thought. And then 3 days later, he had his enlightenment experience, white light experience. And all of a sudden, he was talking totally different. Ivalo is trying to express, she also is talking totally different. Her feeling is guiding her, not. And that's what I love. That's what I love about Ivalo. It's natural, just natural.
And knowing that anybody can have their own wisdom or have their own experience of their own true nature. And because I have seen myself, this identity of Ivalo, a Greenlandic or Inuit or Indigenous or I don't know, all those titles also was they fell apart when another insight came to me that it's like I took away from earth and I became an atom. I became a little bit cell. And I thought, what about everything? What about my fundamentals? What about everything I have built through my life? All the hard work I've been doing, all this education I've been going through, all this self-help process, healing. And what about my past? All those questions. What about all the things that I built? And an answer came to me, you can let them go. They are not going to go away. If you need them, you can take them back again, and then you can let them go again. And suddenly I was out of fundamentals. I had no fundamentals. I had nothing beneath. I had nothing to stand. Suddenly I was not a Greenlander anymore. Suddenly I was not as my educational background. Suddenly I was not my past anymore. I was like nothing. I had no identity. And that insight telling me it's not who you are, but you can use it or you can take it back. You can let that go again. It's nothing that I need to hold on to because I am this little bit, a tiny atom in the whole universe, and I don't have to be somebody to be of value for other people. I only had to be. I only have to be alive. I no longer needed this identification from what happened in the past. I didn't need longer this identification of being a specific race or any title. So suddenly I was there and I felt again this peace, because when I'm this little atom, when I'm this little tiny nothing, I was with everything. I was connected to everything and nothing. I was both nothing, but I was with everything. So this freedom of being nobody was such a liberating feeling. And then I just floated there up in the universe, and I had no goal, I had no accomplishment, I had no past. I was just there. And when I am here in normal day, everyday life, I know I am a mother, I know I'm a wife, I know I am a friend, a daughter, a sister, and all those roles, but it's not me. It's part of me, but but I'm not that, only that. I am nothing. I love this term being nothing. I love this term being nobody. um, but I can be anything that feels correct in the moment, because I have this, I am this soul. I am only that. I am not only that personality. I am far greater than this personality that I have created. But this identification was not needed anymore. But I need that here on earth. I need to have roles. I need to have identity while I'm on earth. But I know that I am not that. I am not those. Um, I am not, I don't have to be in specific roles. Or so this freedom of being able to be myself in any roles was so attractive, so attracting, that and there are no rules how to be a person. Or I don't know if I'm making any sense, but it's this identity, no identity, but being alive in this body, and be free to be who I want to be. So it's a funny feeling, because I don't know who else have had those experiences, but it's so freeing. It's so mystical. Anyway.
It's the paradox of life, Ivalo, because first of all, as Sid so aptly put it, it's before form where you'll find all your answers. And yet we live in form. So that finding that all form is just energy in a different disguise, that's just the way he described it. But the silence is where the magic is. The feeling where you are not a person, you are a feeling, a spiritual feeling of silence. In that, we experience not only who we are, but who we aren't. And that's what you have highlighted. Mm-hmm. You've seen that there's a truth that we live in a spiritual reality where this actually is not really, it's quiet. It's no thought. And in that reality, we are one with the universe. In fact, we are the universe because, like you say, the atom is part of the whole universe, or the whole oneness. And then, while we're in that space, it's so obvious who and what we are, what mind is, what thought is, what consciousness is. And then, sooner or later, we come back to thinking. And in the thinking, we're back here. Mm. We have the roles and scenario. It's just that we're not the same person, because we can't deny that what we had as a concept is now a reality of who I am or who you are. And that just makes you, of all things, and not only into a more successful person, but a better human being. You just naturally become a better human being. And including being a better human being includes roles that you would like to perform in this disguise. That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah. And it reminds me that you send me an audio about Sydney Banks talking about the Great Spirit. And it's so beautiful. There was something about it that resonated me. it's about 2 years ago, but I remember listening to it, but also transcribing what he was saying, so I can translate it to Greenlandic or Danish. While I was listening to it and transcribing, it came to me again. Oh my God, this concept or this description of being a drop of the ocean, as a being part of this ocean, or being this source. We are part of this source. This connectedness came back to me again, because I have somehow felt that I am a part of, I am separate from the source. I am separate from the ocean, and suddenly I felt this again. Oh, I am an ocean in a drop. I am a drop, but I'm also the ocean. This sensation, or this realization, was so big that I was shaking, and I couldn't have it in the body. It's fantastic experience, but my intellect cannot understand that, so it gets in the way and denying it. But I know
Well,
spiritually.
it shows one other thing. The way of accessing what Ivalo is talking about is actually, she trusts her intuition. She knows that if she thinks, it's going to get in the way. It's not only that it does get in the way, but it also shows you where not to go. See, it's interesting that's not where the answer lies to what Ivalo is expressing. And this feeling that she's talking about is a, I guess, a connection to God, or what Great Spirit. Now I'm going to describe what Ivalo experienced from a Native American Indian perspective of their teaching. And they have the sacred will, and it's a big circle. And what Sid said to me was the big circle is God, or Great Spirit. Just they're saying same thing, the Great Spirit. No beginning, no end. That's how they describe it. And inside the wheel, the sacred will, is a little circle. That's you. And how I explained that to Sid, because before he made the Great Spirit, he asked me, what do they think? And this is very ironical, I follow, that he didn't know anything about the Native American Indian way of seeing life. And yet when they listen to him, they say, who's that? He knows everything about it. And so what I explained to him, this little wheel, in the little hub, is connected together via purity of thought or impurity of thought. And I says, well, of course, if it's impure, it goes. And I says, well, you know that stuff, obviously, type of thing. And so that's the connection. Pure thought. Insight is not pure thinking, it's thought, original connection. And then how he described, which was a revelation to me, was he expressed on the Great Spirit talk that Ivalo is talking about, that he experienced fully the inside of that wheel, the little hub. And that's how he described his enlightenment experience. So at a point where the no beginning and no end, the formless energy of everything, and your own formless energy of everything, connected via insight or connected via pure original thought. That's what he experienced. And that's what Ivalos experienced, a version of that to her level of consciousness. And what she's saying is that's life-saving. That's not just, oh, that's pretty interesting. That has changed. She sees life with brand new eyes because that's who she is. And that feeling she's talking about, that indigenous feeling, is, she doesn't mean indigenous to Greenland people. She means indigenous to, we're all indigenous to Great Spirit. And we see that common feeling beyond Greenland, women, scientists, but just see that we are walking as an ordinary human being, having a pretty good time.
So,
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Unless when we get caught up in the mind, in the little mind. But when I get that space again, I feel like, oh, it's easy. It's
It is easy.
Yeah.
It is so easy. It's, and the other thing, I hope you, gratitude, you feel immense gratitude. I mean, I go, oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so simple. It's so ordinary, but it's so beautiful. Such a little gift that can make my heart sing like that, you know, type of thing. So it's healing, it's silence, and it's gratefulness or gratitude. And it also is unlimited. Like, do you get a feeling, Ivalo, like you're just a little baby and like, but the whole sky is opening up. The possibility of it is not only endless, but I have unlimited potential. Me, of all people, I certainly never thought that. But, or you, unlimited potential.
It's so empowering.
Yes, if you share it.
Mm-hmm.
It said that you must share your experiences, your insights. Mm-hmm. And if you have no one to share it with yourself. But to share with other people. I can tell you, Ivalo, I only really have grown when I suddenly realized I wasn't interested in being impressive. And, you know, the big eye, you know, thinking about me. And just simply shared. And Sid was the epitome of that. He just shared to help. And I care enough to do that too, to the level that I want. And that's very important. Do not over exaggerate who you are, because that is a way of stopping the expansive nature of spirit.
And it's like having a secret, and I can't share it. But I share it, but they have to experience it for themselves, because I cannot give that to them because they have it already. So it's a very funny thing. After all, even though I want people to understand that, but it's not up to me. I can only share what I've seen, and maybe it might resonate to somebody that they also have it already. So it's not up to me who get to have it, or it's nothing about me. So being this impersonal person, being an impersonal person is it's also a new form of experiencing life. But it's easier for me to be me and share what I know, even though that I don't want to do it to gain popularity, but I want to only give hope, or I don't know, remind them that they have something inside of them that is full. It's diamonds, or they have this sky inside themselves, and they are not lost, so they don't have to give into addiction or misuse their power positions in the society, or blame other people, or keeping in a victim role. So after those insights with, for example, the Great Spirit, I realized Greenland, the Greenlanders, how what about their spirit, their own spirituality? So I look at the houses and the buildings. Are those from their own values, or are we building this society from our own spirits, or are we forming this country, this society from our own spirit? And if we're gonna do that, how will it look like? What our
Good question.
yeah,
Good question.
yeah.
That's
What
a really good. I like that question.
What are the core values the Greenlanders today needs in forming the buildings, in forming the houses, in creating cultural centers? Do they match from what we have today? So those new questions or new ideas came, and also how the educational system is being formed and is being formed today. So it's like many like critical questions, but healthy questions. So I have a new vision or new view of how I see Greenland and being indigenous, or the religion, or the Inuit religion, or Inuit spirituality. So I'm having those new thoughts I've never thought about before about Greenland, and how much I love the Greenlanders, and my interest lies in giving up this victim role that many people have innocently and unconsciously. So, and somehow I like to do some work or projects that also, where we talk about how the mind works, how about our spirituality, our true nature, in a respectful way. So I'm happy whatever will come to mind, of what we're gonna create of new forms, whatever might be helpful for people. So I'm in a very hopeful situation, or I'm in a very hopeful life situation. I'm just open to what might come, but I love to talk more about our spiritual nature, and not only that, but seeing the potential, unlimited potential, everybody has. So, and I also heard one of your webinars, the indigenous people around the world will have more time to talk, and or people will listen more to the indigenous people, because they're so close to nature, they are so close to earth, that the indigenous people will have more space to speak up. And the difference between, for example, Greenland is under Denmark, and Denmark will also listen to Greenlanders. Or it's like this indigenousness is also new for me, even though I intellectually know about much about it. But I love the idea that we listen to indigenous people who has this wisdom about the earth and how we take care of our nature, how we take care of earth, and how we can co-live with the nature much more naturally. So I loved your ideas in some of the webinars, that it gave me so much joy and so much creativity, that there are new times, there will be new times.
I want to bring 2 points up before we conclude. The first thing she said, the respected way, she also means respected in an investigative way, because she doesn't know, but she knows it's there. It's kind of like Edison discovered the light bulb. The light bulb, this is just from Sid, the light bulb is always there, but Edison was able to see it. That's what she's talking, that vision, that the fact that already is there. And then she brings up a very important point, the wisdom of the indigenous people to lead and to help us do that. And I want to give a personal example of that, because obviously in my life, I've been enriched by the indigenous feeling that has changed me and has helped me to understand the 3 principles on a mystical and deeper level than if I had not been exposed. So I'm sitting many years ago in a place where I'm seeing the psychologist going out and stuff, and I feel like I don't want to go in that direction. And I'm traveling with my family, and I happen to get out of the car and walk up and watch a mountain, and it was all bare. The business had come, and they clear-cutted all the trees, and the mountain felt scarred. I was so sad. I was just about ready to cry. I had never seen that quite so blunt. And at that moment, an indigenous native Indian woman came and sat. We both looked, and we never said one word, but we both felt exactly the same thing. I never saw that woman again, but that's indigenous feeling. I said to myself, I've got to work with these people. They feel, they not think, they feel the same way that I do. And that's how I started. And when I went back home, I said one word to Sid, and he was like a rocket over. I didn't understand. What are you doing here, Sid? And he came with his wife. And his wife and him it was their anniversary, and they were dressed up, and they were sitting in front of me. I was talking about this feeling. You see, it's indigenous to everyone. The indigenous will lead if you can catch that feeling that Ivalo was expressing, not with words, but in silence, in that deep feeling. And then I had to investigate what that was. And guess what? It was quite a long journey. But in the end, it was an enriching journey. And I guess who I found? Me. Just me. And how did I have to? Then I became a pipe carrier, and that was strange and all this. And then what did I find? Me. Just me. And how did it feel? Just how Ivalo is describing. Felt unlimited potential.
So beautiful.
So we want to express this feeling, and we're going to do another one with the Native American Indian from Kansas, Patty Joe Wallachuk. And we're going to bring in a few other people as well from Greenland. And Greenland, how many people, just before we conclude, how many people in Greenland is in your group, the Inuit 3P group?
We have this public open Facebook group, 3P in Greenlandic. There are about 2,700, and you don't have to be a member. You just can become.
Yeah, but it's an impressive amount, perhaps the biggest group in 3P. So, and you know, what fun to share, not an Indigenous feeling, a mystical, spiritual, Indigenous feeling. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, lots of fun. Come and join us.
I'm looking forward already to the next webinar, and
we'll put this out. I'll put it out to lots of different places. You put it out, and we'll make this into a little series, and yeah, and then we'll post it on the YouTube channel as a separate section. Yeah. I'll show you how to do that type of thing. And it's really needed. It's really beautiful. And gee, I've enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed it. I had no idea what it was going to be like. I didn't even know this is what we were going to be talking, sort of in this style. But it's perfect. And really beautiful sharing, Ivalo. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your wisdom. Beautiful. Great to share it with you.
Thank you so much for listening. It's not everyday subjects that I talk about, but it's wonderful to share with somebody who knows what I'm talking about. So very, very, very grateful. Thank you for listening, and looking forward to more talks and more listening. And
yep, we'll make it into a little series and go from there. And I'll, of course, send it to Patty Joe as well. Yeah. And so.
Thank you for today.
Good.